I want to welcome all of you to Feeling Fit with FSHD. I also want to give a shout out to Lonwabo Nenef, tuning in from South Africa. He's part of the Feeling Fit kind of steering committee.
Lekker.
And, I think he might have originally reached out or connected with Ryan over our exercise cheats call to asking people to tell us how they do exercises when sometimes their FSHD gets in the way of doing them the standard way, and what are your cheats and so on. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that over the next coming sessions, because a lot of people wrote in to share their exercise cheats. Anyway, today we have a very special guest, Ryan Levinson. I haven't seen Ryan in a while because he is off in literally the opposite end of the globe from where he is. It's the center of the globe where he is, and we're all off in the opposite ends. He is in. Are you in Tahiti or?
We're anchored off of Moorea right now.
Okay, all right. He's actually on a sailboat, which he and his wife Natalie you see in one of the other windows. Was it 5-6 years ago?
Almost 8 years ago.
8 years ago. Gee, time flies. Well, they just got in their sailboat in San Diego and just sailed across the Pacific and over the equator, and they've been down there more or less. They have adventures of two afloat. That really is what it is, and it's just a wonderful. To me, it's just a wonderful thing to know they're out there enjoying this amazing life. Makes me feel better. But Ryan was a longstanding member of the FSHD community and of the society. He was diagnosed, I think, as a teenager. And
no, I was an adult.
You were an adult, okay.
Yeah, early 20s, early to mid 20s.
Early 20s. So as I recall, your neurologists, your doctors basically told you to stop doing all the sports and things that you love to do. So I'm going to turn it over to you to tell the story of your journey and how you have kept yourself in amazing shape. You have competed at the highest levels in a variety of sports. I'll never forget all these photos you used to post of yourself doing the yoga and surfing and everything. So let's start with your journey with FSHD and, what has kept you active in all these years.
Okay. First of all, I'm not wearing a shirt, not out of disrespect, but so that if I demonstrate any exercises, it'll be easier for everybody to see. And because it's 3 million degrees down here in the South Pacific, tropical South Pacific, when it's raining and the cabin's all closed up. So my journey with FSH, I was a competitive cyclist when I was in my teens, and I was on a pro development team. I used to race against Lance Armstrong and George Hincapie and these guys who went on to be super top pros. And suddenly, in a short period of time, I stopped winning all these races and started just sort of finishing in the middle. I could win the local races, but at the international stuff, I wasn't doing very well. And I just figured, okay, I just don't have it, and stopped cycling, moved to California, got really hardcore into surfing, which was my other love at the time. And then a little bit later, I discovered it was starting to get harder to paddle surfboards. Everybody in this room knows this story. So finally, I went to a neurologist. The neurologist took a look at me, noticed a few imbalances, and said, hey, you've got this FSH thing most likely. And back then, they didn't have the gene test, so they did the muscle biopsy. Still have the scar. And one of these sides. And they came back, said, yes, you have FSH. And I said, well, what does this mean? I'm a scuba instructor, and I teach ocean sports for a living. Surfing is like my main passion in life. And he says, well, that's all unrealistic. You need to quit all of that and learn something useful like typing, like programming. Back then, the prevailing sort of advice that neurologists would give was, if you have FSH, you should protect your muscles at all costs. Like, don't do anything. If you go too hard, you're going to injure yourself and cause this like really accelerated loss of muscle, and that's horrible. So you should just sit in a chair all the time, basically. Well, I told him what he could do with his advice in a friendly way, and ended up I made the decision, and maybe this was immaturity, but maybe it was actually wisdom. I decided, well, if I'm going to lose these muscles anyways, I'm going to do it, my way, doing the things that I love to do, living my life while I still can. And I got super hyperactive. I pulled out of school for a while. I started traveling. I went to Fiji and worked at a surf camp, and I became a research scuba diver, and I started racing paddle boards and just all of these very, very active things. And eventually got into triathlon and cycling, competitive, sort of had unfinished business on the bike. So I got back into it. And I discovered that, yeah, I was still losing muscle in the most affected areas, but the areas that were not as affected were gaining ability. And combined with that, I was learning that by using technique and by using a little bit of adaptations to my equipment and by improving my cardiovascular fitness and by eliminating resistance through stretching and some other things, diet, etc., I was actually gaining not necessarily strength, but I was gaining the ability to do stuff, to move, to produce, let's call it outcome work, and that was cool. So I started sending the guy postcards. I would be like, I won the state championships, and I sent him a postcard like, "Dear doctor," because back then they didn't have email and stuff yet. And I was like, you just won the state championship, still haven't learned how to type, ha ha ha. He ended up taking me to a big conference and presented me in front of everybody. And it was like neurologist geek humor. He's like, okay, here's the slides of his biopsy. What does he have? And all the students were really excited. It's FSH. And okay, what should he do? And all the students were excited to impress this guy. He's a really noted neurologist. Well, he should just sit in a chair and do nothing, And then they like brought me out, like, tell him what you're doing. Like he was like giddy, and I told him, and all the kids thought it was like they didn't know what to do. They were kind of like in shock. Should I? Anyways, it was a lot of fun with that. Over time, eventually, the prevailing wisdom has changed. Now, certain degrees of exercise are indicated for people with FSH. I think that's fantastic. It's a huge change. I now hear from athletes all over the world with FSH that want to learn how to kiteboard or want to learn how to surf or want to learn how to scuba dive, and what's my recommendation on where they start. Everybody's different. It's so we can get into that as specifically or as generally as you want, or not at all. But the way that exercise itself has changed for me, I've lost the ability to run. It's very, very difficult for me to walk more than short distances now. Stairs are a bitch. Excuse my language. I kind of cuss a lot. I'll try not to, but stairs really suck. I'm a sailor. Sailing, I was sailing on a small, my wife and I, Nicole and I, were sailing on a small monohull. It had more like what you would picture when you think of a sailboat. But I started having trouble with balance when the boat, because it leans over when the wind is in the sails. So we switched to a catamaran, which has 2 hulls and is much more stable. But it's also a big and physical and a really fast boat. So we've had to learn how to adapt to that. And I still do most of those sports, not the cycling and the triathlon, that's gone, but I still surf, although now it's on a sit-down surfboard. It's kind of like a cross between a kayak and a surfboard. I still kiteboard, but I can only do it for short periods of time on a normal kiteboard, and I just got a sit-down kiteboard that I'm trying to figure out. It's really hard. It's made for people with strong core, so we're modifying that to be able to not be dragged upside down underwater. Scuba diving, we still scuba dive. We haven't lately, but we scuba dive regularly out here. We have a compressor on the boat. Swimming all the time. We have a swim workout scheduled today. And we live in super ultra remote areas. So aside from just doing activities for the fun of it, it's also really important that I am able to, if something happens to Nicole, I'm able to rescue her. I'm able to pull her if she's unconscious back into the dinghy or back on board the boat, or if she falls overboard, or if something happens to her, that I'm able to sail the boat by myself. And if I become injured or something happens to me that was preventable, then it puts Nicole at a higher risk because now she has to independently run the boat. So exercise has taken on a very pragmatic, literally, I think existential might be the right word, role in my life. Maybe that's not, June. You're better with words than me. It's an important thing. If I get in trouble, it's more than just me. And I think that is something that, while maybe in my situation is an extreme example, for all of us here, I'm going to go on a limb and say that it is a positive outcome the less we have to rely on other people, and that probably most of us want to live in a way that, as much as possible, minimizes our need to rely on other people to do stuff, whether it's fun stuff or day-to-day life or whatever. While we're all willing to do it and we have people who will help us, etc., why not take some personal responsibility? Even able-bodied people, that's true. So that's just, my personal philosophy. So my exercise now, a large part of it is based on that premise. It's sort of, I have a mission to execute. It's to operate effectively in this super remote, kind of hostile environment, believe it or not, a lot of the time. And to be able to do it in a way that not only can provide a sense of security and safety to my partner out here, my teammate, but also for myself. So in that light, we've had to develop an exercise program that serves those goals and is possible while living on a tiny sailboat in a super remote island in the tropical South Pacific. And we've succeeded, like way more than we ever would have imagined. So I'm happy to share anything anybody wants to know about any of that stuff, including mindset, diet, specific exercises, outcomes, whatever it is, open book, ask away.
So that's wonderful. There is people, if you know how to use the hand raise button, you can use that. That'll be helpful. And then I had you pinned while you're speaking, but I think we'll go back to like the Hollywood squares so we can see everybody. Oh, more friends have joined us. So, yes, George has a question.
Hey, Ryan, George Pollack, how are you?
Hey, George, how you doing?
So just for this audience, very small world. I didn't know Ryan at the time, but Ryan and I were on the same bike rides in Tampa in the early 90s called the USF ride. So yeah. It's a small world. So good to see you. Just wanted to say hello. And I echo everything you're saying and follow the same perspective that you do. I was diagnosed a long time ago as well. And the mindset was don't exercise, which was completely wrong, which I never agreed to. And have continued to ride and endurance and race, and I've augmented that with a lot of core yoga, stretching, weight work that has made, I think, a really big difference in, my life and stability and strength and what I can do. So I'm a big advocate of moving whatever your ability is to move. Not everyone can walk and not everyone can raise their hands above their head or do whatever, but whatever you can do, it's so important to move every single able muscle in your body as much as you can within tolerances of fatigue.
How epic! You're on the USF rides. That's insane.
Yeah.
Back in the day, Gary T, Brian Eldridge,
Brian Jones. Yep.
Brian Jones.
David
yeah,
Holt.
That's where it all started.
Dutch, all those guys. Yeah. Small world.
Epic.
And George has also led Team FSHD, which has been involved in doing the race across America over the last few years. So,
yep.
For those of you who don't know, that's legit badass. Epic, brother. Man, thank you. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, no, good seeing you. Thank you for taking the time. I just want to say hello and thank you.
That's so cool. Amy has her hand up.
Morning, guys. I wanted to pop in. My favorite person, Ryan, I knew he was presenting, and I said, I got to show my face here and say, hey. There are three of my most favorite people are on this call, Ryan, Nicole, and George, and all into this sport and exercise. And I wanted to say that I've been watching Ryan's adventure for over 20 years now. That's how long I think I know you, Ryan. And I've watched him progress, but I've also watched him adapt. And I think that's what he's the main theme here. And you touched on, Ryan, you said mindset. And I have to agree that all of this, the exercise, the discipline, the movement is all 99% mindset. And George, I think, will agree to that too, because you got to deep down really, really push. And what is going to make you stick with it? And it's the mindset. So that's pretty much what I wanted to say.
Yeah, San Diego represent. Amy, great to see you. Thanks for popping in. And I couldn't agree with you more. And if I can expand on this a little bit, I think I was thinking about what to talk about today, and mindset was front and center. And I think that, forgive me for saying this to people who already know what I'm about to repeat here, but I think a lot of people begin exercise, with the intent of outcome. Like they do it like so that I can become better body composition, or so that I can gain fitness because it's more healthy or something like this. And that's not necessarily a bad motivation. But then to continue the exercise, they sort of will give themselves either like a guilt or a reward. Like, well, if I do the exercise, then I've done well. Or if I don't do the exercise, then I'm, I want to say a POS, but I'm trying to think of a more, I'm bad because I didn't do my exercise, so it's like a guilt motivating them. And I think that if you can think of exercise where the reward is the exercise itself, and I don't mean that it feels good, because it's not going to feel good a lot of the time. And I don't mean because, you should be doing it and you feel a reward from that, but, kind of like an oversimplified way to explain this is your body has a reward system built in. I think it's called the dopamine system or something like this, where when you eat sugar, you kind of get this hit of like, I like this, or when you're having sex, a hit of I like this, it sort of rewards these behaviors in a certain way. When you wake up in the morning and it's cold and you don't want to get out of bed and you decide to stay in the bed for a few more minutes, you get a hit of this reward system. You're like, oh, I like this. And of course, we're biologically inclined to respond positively to that system. Well, when you exercise, you can get to the point, and it takes a little bit of practice, but if you can if you have your end goal in mind, and I don't mean necessarily to achieve a performance objective, like to win something or to go a certain speed or to keep up with a certain person. But if you say, my end state goal is to be as to see what I am capable of achieving physically or something along these lines, or to increase just a little bit every day my physical ability. Well, then, you earn the exercise itself. So if you're exercising and it hurts, that pain is like, dopamine hit. You can train yourself. You can get to the point where the effort itself triggers this reward. It takes some practice. It takes some time, and you have to get out there and you have to start working out and go, this really sucks. I don't want to be doing this. And then you go, good, this sucks. Exactly. If it didn't suck, what would be the point of doing this? I'm glad it sucks. Bring it on, MFer. Let's go, and you get this hit. You get the dopamine, and it becomes sort of a perpetuating thing where now you can exercise for the sake of the exercise, because F you, I'm not going to just sit around and let things happen. I'm going to take charge, and I'm going to get out there and I'm going to do something in this world for myself and for the people in my team. Anyway, that's my mindset spiel.
Rick, you had your hand up a little while ago. Did you want to ask a question?
So over the years, they talk about what are the affected muscles and what are compensatory muscles, which can backfire because they become too tight. But of recent discovery were the muscles in disuse, and they've atrophied from lack of use. And you mentioned that you stopped running, and I hadn't run for years because I started falling down, but I've worked around the other muscles for stability, and now I can kind of do a modified hop, jog, run, but I want to get out of the middle of the street if traffic's coming. So I'm building on that, but I think it has more to do with the muscles in disuse, because certainly there are muscles that are diseased. So have you had an awakening over your experiences of discovering specific muscles in disuse and been able to wake them back up again?
Yeah, good question. I don't think that I personally would describe it as necessarily waking them back up again in my experience, but I would definitely say that while I have certain muscles that I don't think can be strengthened anymore, that won't gain, they won't hypertrophy, they won't get bigger, they can become more effectively used, sort of what's left. And the way that was best described to me was, I think they called it neural recruitment or something like this. Like basically your muscles have a certain amount of sort of like, circuitry that goes to them that tells them to fire, and it has a certain ability to sort of process fuel and to do work. And if you can optimize that, you're going to be able to optimize whatever limited, as though it may be, ability that muscle still has. It will be the most of that it can be. That was a word salad. So a lot of the training that I do is along those lines. So it'll be maybe a muscle that doesn't have the strength to move a heavy weight. It'll be an adapted exercise that just lets me move that muscle. And I found that over time, I've gained, like you, the ability to kind of hop, jog, and things like this. If I don't train for a period of time, I really notice the difference. And then when I start training again, it comes back. I think another thing that you bring up, or that pops in my head listening to you, is related to, if we're talking about functional ability, I think that it's not just about gaining strength and gaining fitness. It's also about removing resistance, increasing efficiency. And to me, a large part of that is, the yoga and stretching. And, I've had a 20 plus year daily practice for about an hour a day. Meditation helps you learn that maybe you're holding tension in a muscle that you shouldn't. And that energy that's going into that tension could be used in another area, for example. Or maybe you're moving a muscle in a certain way. And as through meditation, you develop the mindfulness to sort of be really aware of the motion itself, and you're able to kind of modify and compensate and things like that. It's made a huge difference. Diet is massive. Everybody knows this, able-bodied people, and us. And if you're able to give yourself the proper nutrients, and I don't mean sometimes, I mean, this is like the dopamine hit thing I'm talking about again, like if you can get your body composition down, you have to carry less weight around. You're better. You have better fuel for the muscles that are in use. They're better able to perform. It makes more of a difference for us than for able-bodied people. I'm not a scientist, but I think that is a massive truth. I think if you eat processed sugars, if you eat refined flour, things like that, I think sugar drinks. I think that it inhibits your muscle's ability to perform efficiently because it creates inflammation and sort of does the opposite of what you're trying to do. So the more that you eliminate resistance, the more efficient whatever muscles you do have left can work, combined with like what you're talking about with recruiting the improving those muscles' ability to fire whatever's left of them. And it's not just go out, lift heavy weights, or do heavy exercise. That's sort of my take on what you're saying.
So Ryan, people are very interested in what a healthy diet is for someone with FSHD. What do you eat? What are your principles? And share a favorite recipe or something.
Sure. Water and fish. No, I'm just kidding. I think I'm fortunate. Nicole sort of handles most of the cooking. I'm a really crappy cook. So I don't know that my diet would be this way if I had to cook it for myself, but that's just a little honesty and a little respect for my wife. I eat close to zero refined sugar and haven't for years. I don't drink any alcohol. I've never smoked a tobacco cigarette. Got to be specific there. And I don't smoke anything at all now. A typical day, we have the same breakfast almost every day. We wake up, I have raw oats, preferably steel cut or something that's very low glycemic. We use water to cook them. We don't heat the water, so it's room temperature water and raw oats with local fruit, so bananas and mangoes and papayas, things like that. And usually 1 or 2 eggs, occasionally with some cheese on it. Typically lunch. Yes, sorry, I forgot that, of course. Lots of seeds and lots of nuts. Then I have 1 or 2 eggs with some cheese, and I put a fair amount of salt on that because I'm living in a really hot climate and I'm active all day long. Then typically, it's important to mention that we usually don't eat breakfast until around 11 a.m., maybe 12. It's an intermittent fasting, and that's a huge part of reducing inflammation and also in sort of maintaining a steady energy level throughout the day. I found takes a little while to get used to it. But once you do, you're not even hungry until like 11 or 12. And then you can eat smaller portions, have the same amount of energy throughout the day, in my experience. Anyways, lunch is typically around 1 or 2 in the afternoon, and it's usually a salad and maybe some salmon or leftover chicken or whatever from the night before. And then dinner is a mix of things. Last night we had shrimp with some vegetables in it and a very tiny little bit of brown rice. And that's sort of like our typical, or might have some locally sourced pork or some grass, pasture raised beef or something like that. We're fortunate to be able to get that imported here from New Zealand. But the main key point is, whether you're vegetarian, vegan, meat eater, whatever it is refined stuff is like, it's the devil's food for us. I really believe strongly, based on my own personal experience, that stuff like bread, in any kind of excess, and by that I mean, if you eat like a piece of bread a day, I think you're eating too much, in my opinion. Cake, donuts, cookies, M&Ms, sugar cereals, any of that stuff, it absolutely nukes me. If I eat, you can ask Nicole, like, I will literally wake up in the morning, I'm super, super in tune with my physical performance. A lot of it is logged. I know what, sort of degree I can do different exercises based on how I feel at different times. And when I eat, like if I have a piece of cake or something at somebody's house, the night before, the next day, maybe I'm more sensitive than others to it, but I'm trashed. Like I'm sore, I'm stiff. I really feel that a marked difference in my ability to perform physically, and it's not worth it. Plus, I value mobility, independence, ability to do stuff, and to me, it's worth it. I don't want to eat that piece of cake. I'd rather get up and move around, and if that means carrying around some extra weight, or having less weight to carry around, improves my ability to move around, that's well worth it. Way more important to me than drinking a couple beers or something like that.
Great. Just a practical recipe question. I'm interested in the oats. How long do you soak them in hot water, cold water? I have a tin
Cold
of
water.
And
I gotta give credit to, when I was competing in cycling most recently, I did okay. I won the state championships against able-bodied cyclists, and and I had good enough sponsorship. I was able to get a nutritionist who's awesome, and she's told me this recipe, and I've kind of stuck with it ever since. It was really powerful. It got me through a lot of really hard triathlons and things. It's raw oats and raw water, cold water, and not cold like refrigerated, just room temperature water, and we just pour it in and eat. And what that does is, if you're used to sugary oats, you're not going to like it at first, but you get used to it quickly, especially once you realize that it slows down the absorption of those oats, so that you get this like sustained energy for a much longer period of time.
I'll have to try that. Is it like hard on your teeth?
Not steel cut oats.
No.
Not
Well,
steel
out here, if you use steel cut, you soak them a little bit more. Out here, they're just regular oats, but we try to avoid the like quick instant oats. You don't want them to be like super mushy, like
Right.
super, like that style of oatmeal. You want them to be a little bit raw,
Great. Okay. I saw Rick's face kind of falling. You're saying no sugar, no donuts, no cookies, no M&Ms.
Do everyone do themselves, right? I'm just talking about my experience for optimal results.
Yeah, great. Something else I would love to know is, tell us about, or walk us through your daily exercise stretching routine. I'm going to also put you back on pin so we can see you better. If you want to demonstrate something, you can. If you want,
Sure.
But just what do you do what's your daily routine?
Okay. Let me preface this by saying I don't think this is where people should start. I don't think this is necessarily the routine that everybody should follow, but maybe aspects of it are appropriate, and I'm happy to answer any questions. I am currently following sort of 3 programs at the same time. There's a great, I think it's, phenomenal. I recommend this to everybody who asks now. It's the website is, if you Google CERG, like Charlie, Echo, Romeo, Golf, and then 7 week, they have a 7-week fitness program, and it's an aerobic program. So it's basically, they don't care how you get your heart rate up. You just have to get it up to a certain point for a certain amount of time. You can do that in a pool. You can do that wiggling around on the ground. To be honest, we've actually done it. We've done intervals in bed together, intentionally. As long as you get your heart rate up to the certain point and hold it there for the sort of prescribed amount of time, and you do it on that schedule, it has a very, very effective balance of recovery and effort. And the program is based on intensity. So you sort of do a 10-minute warm up, and then you do these sets of usually like 4-minute kind of 90 to 95% intensity intervals, and then cool down at the end. So that program is exceptionally good. And I've gone through the entire, there's sort of a second 7-week program that it leads you to. And I've done both of them all the way through a couple times. And anyway, so I'm following that program now. And when I recycle back to the beginning of the program, I'm adding a lot of other stuff like more kiting, more surfing, and things on top of it. But when you first start, maybe just stick to that program. In addition to that, every single day is about 45 minutes of yoga. And this is yin style yoga, which is much more slow stretching, longer holds, lots of emphasis on exhalation and releasing tension. It's not like a strength building kind of yoga. At the same time, I'm following a modified version of the Navy Special Warfare pre-BUDS program, which is what people use to get ready to go into Navy SEAL training. It's free, it's online. I think you just search Naval Special Warfare pre-BUDS training, something like this. What that does is it gives you a series of, it's a mix of stuff. I don't do the running and swimming things. I just do the weight training and the core resistance training stuff. But I do it very modified. I'm not going out and doing 20 pull-ups. I can't even do one pull-up, but I'll hang from a pull-up bar for a period of time. And I can tell you some tricks for each of these specific exercises. I do, what am I leaving off, Nicole? That's the gist of the outline of the program. To get the heart rate up, that aerobic stuff, a large part of it is swimming. I think swimming is exceptional exercise for us. It gets rid of gravity. I wear swim fins when I swim, so I can sometimes kind of keep up with Nicole. You know, I used to be a much, much faster swimmer than I am now, but you don't have to be a fast swimmer. You just, again, have to get in there, recruit all of the muscles that are necessary, and get your heart rate up. As a part of the swim training, oftentimes we try to swim in the most gnarly conditions possible. Like if it's going to be super windy, we wait till the middle of the day, so the ocean is really rough and kind of radical, or a strong current. Sometimes I'll tie my hands behind my back and my feet together and swim that way. It really raises your heart rate because you're kind of doing this really kind of aggressive motion. But what it also makes you, through the meditation and the relaxation stuff, you learn how to stay calm under stressful situations, and it makes you very comfortable in the water. So now when you swim without your hands and tied, you know, it's that much easier and sort of more pleasant. I don't try that unless you have somebody there supervising and you get to a certain point of comfort. Sometimes, not lately, but sometimes I'll put on scuba gear and actually do my PT on the bottom, because you can put on a lot of extra weights on your, you know, to hold you down. And now you can do push-ups, you can do pull-ups, you can do the stuff that ABs can do on land because you're underwater and there's no gravity. So that's not necessarily available to anybody, but it is an option. Now, like an example of today's workout, the sun is just coming out now, and after this talk, I'll probably go out and I'll walk slowly for about 10 minutes. I just do circles around the deck just to get a little bit loose. Then we're going to go in the water and we're going to do 4-minute max effort intervals with 3-minute recoveries in between, just swimming laps around the boat. It's beautiful here. There's this little puffer fish that sits under the boat and watches us do it. And every once in a while, the little black tip sharks come by. They're not hostile, but it breaks up the exercise. But then after that, today is push-ups, pull-ups, and sit-ups. Can't do a pull-up, but while I'm in the water with my fins on, I go to the back of the boat where between the two holes, it kind of overhangs. And those of you who don't have a catamaran available, you can go to a diving board on a swimming pool, or you can go to sometimes the railing where it hangs out over the water a little bit, or even the edge of the pool. And with the swim fins on, you can kick as you pull, and the combination of the buoyancy of your body in the water plus the thrust you generate with the fins lets you do that motion, the pull-up motion, which then leads to the recruitment that we were talking about earlier. You know, you're sort of better able to do that than you were before. You might not be able to do a pull-up, but you'll discover that you're able to do these modified pull-ups more effectively over time. And it greatly increases your ability to hang, which is useful for day-to-day stuff a lot of times, especially like maybe you need to reach something, you can hang and you know, reach over to get it, etc. It helps me get up off the ground. When I reach up, I can grab a table or something and pull myself up more effectively than I used to be able to do that. Swimming with fins is, as I mentioned before, really useful, but you don't have to necessarily swim. If you have a pool or shallow water, you can walk back and forth quickly in the pool. It's much easier to walk in water in terms of standing upright than it is to walk on land. And I guarantee you will get your heart rate absolutely maxed. It's harder than swimming, I think. You can even just putting your hands in the water and moving them back and forth creates a lot of resistance, and that helps with the muscle recruitment and the rest. If you have, like one of the things I do sometimes is I'll take a paddle, a stand-up paddleboard paddle, and I'll stand on the back of the boat or even sit sometimes and just paddle in the water. And the paddle, we're not going anywhere. The boat doesn't move, but that creates resistance, which creates recruitment, and it's a full body exercise. You could take a spatula if you don't have the strength for a paddle and just do it in your bathtub. Sit down next to the tub, if you're in a chair or whatever, reach over and just move your arms back and forth through the water with that resistance, and then do the other side. I mean, you can kind of get creative and do it a million different ways. Yesterday's PT involved upper body strength training, so we took the elastic bands, which I'm sure everybody has seen, and we loop them over different areas of the boat, and we have a whole routine that we do with the elastic bands in both directions. You can actually, if you're not strong enough to do a sit-up or push-up, you can run the elastic band around you and have an aide or a friend or something hold the band to eliminate the resistance, so it's easier to do the push-ups. I can demonstrate some of these in a minute. When I do my push-ups, I do them all inclined. I can't do a flat push-up anymore, not even close. So I do them inclined. When we do our core workout days, it's a lot of planks and a lot of bridging and things like that, which I don't hold myself out with straight arms anymore. I hold myself in my forearm. It's probably easier for me to demonstrate those if people are interested. And I'm happy to do it, even though I literally woke up 20 minutes ago. I haven't warmed up or anything yet. But even the endurance stuff, like we're on a boat. Okay, so it's very easy to say, oh, we're on a boat, there's nowhere to walk and stuff. Bullshit. There's, if it's on your schedule and you're going to exercise. I've been out here in lightning storms, pouring rain, and I've walked, my workout might have called for an hour walk, and I got done with the hour and I was like, you know what? F you. And I just did another hour, just literally walking laps around the boat. I think at one point I walked like a marathon and a half or something total in a week or something. Like it was some nutty amount. I just wanted to see how many laps I could walk, just because I can walk and I want to see what I can do, and the reward is in the doing. The reward is in the pain. It's in the effort, and then you get the gains afterwards. You get an extra bonus reward. But if, to me, that's where it is. So I'm going to shut up for a second, see what you guys want me to do next.
As before, if you have a question at any point along the way, just use the raise hand function. And so it's interesting. I think there's a strong mental aspect to this because, speaking just personally for myself, my barrier for doing sustained exercises, I get bored. And maybe the problem is I'm not thinking or focusing on what I'm doing. I'm just like, okay, I'm doing this, and I'm like, but what do you do mentally to, keep it interesting? or
I don't. I want it to be boring. I want it to suck. Frankly, I am fine with testing myself. Like I get the reward. Like, okay, this is gonna suck. Cool. So what? I'm gonna do it anyways. I just make the decision that I'm gonna do it, and if it sucks, great. It's just that much more of a test. If it's easy. Okay, fine. It was an easy workout. I don't cry about it. I don't try to make it boring or suck or something like that. I mean, certainly I don't kiteboard and surf because it sucks, it's fun, and I think that there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm still going to PT. I made the decision. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get up. I'm going to PT. I don't want to swim for 40 minutes laps around a sailboat. I'd rather go snorkeling and see pretty fish or not be swim. Whenever I swim out here, I end up sneezing for like the next 6 hours straight. Somehow I became allergic to the ocean this year. And frankly, laps around a boat is, maybe if you haven't done it before, it's exciting, but when you've been doing it for years, it's not that exciting. It's like back and forth in a swimming pool or something. And there's no race at the end. There's no like I'm not gonna get buffer or more hot or fit. Yeah, I'm gonna get more fit, but I'm not gonna get like more fast necessarily. I'm not gonna win a race or something like that. But that's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Part of it to me is the discipline of it. It is like, do I want to be the kind of person who goes, oh, I don't know if I can like swim laps because it's hard. No, I want to be the kind of person who goes, I don't want to swim laps, but I'm going to swim my laps, and I get in and I do it because I'm going to be facing a lot more hard things than that in my life. And I'm a person who prides myself in not, you know, maybe I'll complain or say this kind of sucks or something, but I'm still going to do it if it has to get done. You know, I worked on an ambulance for 10 years, and when you get a call in the middle of the night and you're tired and you've been running all day long, doing calls all day long, you don't want to get up and do that. You're like, ugh. And some people moan and grunt, but you know, you just get up and you do it, or you don't survive very long in that job, you know. With sports, it was all about results. Like you get the accolades and the sponsorships and you win and you're better. And it's kind of this ego-based thing coming from outside. People like, thinking you're this like hero. Even with the FSH community, I kind of used to get a buzz off of everybody telling me how rad I was for doing all this shit. But now it's much more intrinsic. It's just like, who am I? Who do I want to be? I want to be the guy who gets up and swims the laps.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be the guy who sits down and does the meditation, and so I'm going to.
Awesome. So do you want to show us a few things?
Sure.
And
Bring my assistant in.
A warm up if you want,
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll walk a couple laps around the deck just to we'll take you through a very minimum shortened, super shortened version of a typical workout sesh. How's that?
Okay, that sounds great.
Okay. So I'm switching to this one. All right. Welcome to Kiapa Nui, our sailboat in Morea, where the sun has just come up. We're going to go on deck and we're going to start with what? Oh, Nicole's telling me I'm talking too loud. Your finger's over the camera, Nicole.
It is?
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
There you
wow.
go. Okay. So
The view.
it's a rainy morning out here. It's kind of chilly actually for us. But typically when I walk the boat, just to make it a little bit more difficult, I walk one lap on the outside, then one lap on the inside, one lap on the outside, one lap on the inside. And each lap I turn a different way depending on, and when I do my turns, I do tactical turns where I step and then pivot on my foot, like as though I'm clearing a room or something with a weapon, frankly, because it just adds more mental loading. It makes the exercises harder to do. You'll see when I cross the center of the boat, there's a rope that comes across that makes me have to lift my leg a little bit. And I try to alternate which leg I lift because that adds another level of challenge. So we'll just do a quick walk around the boat. So then plant one foot, pivot, come back this way, go here. Here's the rope in the middle to cross. And, typically I start with the leg that's closest because it's harder and I want it to be harder. But you can do it also with the other leg, and this helps build balance. And that took a while to get to, but that balance has served me well, especially on a moving boat. Pivot. Then when we come here, when we cross the shrouds, the wires that hold up the mast, I turn out and I lean a little bit like this. Even that little exercise, I think people, can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. People discredit it unless it seems like an exercise. I think a lot of people discredit things and they really shouldn't, because even this, I feel my core engage. Can you turn it down just a little bit? There you go. I feel through here, whatever's left in here, working to get me back up again. So if you don't have shrouds to force you to do that, just while you're walking, every maybe 20 steps or something, lean back and lean back forward again. create your own workouts, make them challenging. Don't, if it becomes easy or boring, like, you know, or something like that, that's on you. Make it harder, you know, make it more challenging. Challenge yourself to count how many steps you're taking up to 100 and then back down to 0. Count by 2s. Maybe make it really challenging. Count by 3s or something, you know. It's not just about doing something over and over again until the thing beeps. So we'll keep going. Bump your head. So typically I'll do that anywhere from 10 minutes to 2+ hours, just walking laps around the boat. Then when it's time to do push-ups, I like to do them down here. And I recognize that I'm doing stuff that a lot of people in our community aren't able to do. I'm walking up and down a few steps and things like that. I'm able to do it. It is really difficult for me. And if I am not PTing for a period of time, like if I'm sick or injured or something, I usually kind of lose the ability to do this without great effort, and I have to regain it over time. So this is how I do my push-ups. So that you don't even have to do them on an incline. I do push-ups almost every day. So, you know, I built up, when I first started this program, I could only do maybe 5 or 6 or something like that. Now I can do about 5 sets of 20, something like that. But I didn't gain any, my muscles didn't get any bigger, really. They just recruited more efficiently, like what we were talking about earlier. And it made a huge difference. If you can't do push-ups on an incline, just do them against the wall. You know, just lean against the wall and do it. Why not? You know, moving on to, let's show pull-ups. There's a couple of places we do pull-ups. I do them, well, I would show you, I'll show you in the water last, because then I'm too salty to go back in the cabin right away. But we'll show you where we do them when we're inside the cabin. So is it too dark, or can you all see me here?
We can see you.
Better? So there's a little ledge. This isn't a pull-up bar, it's just a ledge. So I throw my arm up, you know, I can't, like most of us, this is as high. Can you turn it down a little bit like that? Thank you. This is as high as I can lift my arms, a little bit more. Perfect. But, you know, you can throw your arms up. And then what I do is I just hang. Now, I've gotten to the point where I can lift my feet off the ground. So, Nicole, you can show if you want. Like my feet are just kind of swinging, which is a lot of core to lift up my legs like that. But when it's time to do pull-up motion, I'm on my tippy toes right now. I'm just on my big toes on the ground. Can you show them? Mm-hmm. Okay. And then just with that little bit of help, I'm able to recruit that motion. So, you know, when I first started this, my feet were flat on the ground and I was basically just standing up. And then over time, I was able to gain enough recruitment that I was able to get it to just my tippy toes. I don't think I'll ever be able to do a proper pull-up, but I don't need to. I can do that. And I do it until I can't do anymore. How about some core stuff? So the yoga stuff I do here on the floor. Typically I put down a mat, but we won't bother with that. Like, for example, I can't do a plank with my arms out straight. So I put them together like this. And then I just go like that. And it's really pronounced. My lower back dips down a lot. I can't hold that straight. I just don't have any abs anymore. But you don't need to. Just engage as though you're trying to, you know, push in that direction. And you'll feel the pressure. And over time, you'll, you know, not even that long of a time, you'll go from being able to do it for a few seconds, maybe in my case, I could only do them for maybe 5 or 10 seconds at a time. And now I can do it for about a minute. But usually I do it for like 30 to 45 seconds each time. So, you know, that's just the front plank. Side plank, you know, these are just like standard exercises that an AB would do. But like an able-bodied person would maybe put their feet together and bridge up to the side. I can't do that. So I make a figure 4, put one leg down, get myself up into position, and then slide my other foot into position. So you just have to modify stuff. I mean, all of you know this, but I can do this for about maybe 15 seconds. Anyways, you get the idea. As far as exercise bands, when we use them, a lot of it is in the traditional sort of way where you clip the handles to the band and you use it as a weight. I use almost always exclusively the two easiest bands, but you don't even need anything fancy, just something that's sort of stretchy. And, just even doing this is an exercise. When I want to do curls, you can just kind of just do curls. But if you don't have exercise bands, just do it against gravity. Just literally just go like this against gravity. And if you can't do it against gravity, you can do something like this where you have an assist, where the band itself, you're just sort of pushing a little bit and the band itself is pulling up your arm. Or you can do it underwater. Get into even a hot tub or something, sink down a little bit, and then you'll be able to do that motion. And over time, you'll gain more and more recruitment, and then you'll be able to start doing that motion. In terms of efficiency, it's super important that you, even if you don't do a full yoga program, at least stretch, at least as a minimum stretch. And stretching, I think most people's misconception of stretching is that it's about like taking a muscle to its edge and then holding it, pushing it so that it gets bigger somehow. I don't look at it that way. I think what you do with stretching is you move into a position where you feel a little bit of resistance, and then you breathe and you relax and you try to release that resistance. You try to release that tension and hold that, not hold, let's say, maintain that relaxed posture a little bit so the muscles sort of lengthen and think of it as in terms of you're trying to make things more efficient and more loose, not stretched bigger. We're not trying to do more. We're trying to actually do less. And if you start training, we're already imbalanced and weird and stuff just because of our disability. But if you start exercising, you're going to be using some muscles more than others, and it's going to become even more if you don't do this practice. Plus, it feels good. So this is one that you can do just because it feels good. You don't have to go out there and punish yourself. What other exercises, Nicole? What can we think of?
Does anybody have any questions so far?
That's a good point. Nicole wants to know if anyone has any questions so far or anything specific they'd like to.
I was curious, do you do anything specifically for balance? Or does it all just improve balance by just doing whatever you do?
A lot of it is it just happens as part of these exercises that your balance improves. And through a lot of the sports that we do, and because we live on a platform that's constantly moving, I think you just sort of going to the bathroom is an exercise in balance sometimes, So no, I don't do any specific balance training when I'm on the boat, but on land, I oftentimes incorporate some balance stuff, and it's nothing fancy. It's any basic yoga class you go to or instructor, even adaptive yoga, will have some balance exercises, but sort of the basic ones are sort of like this position. Nicole, can you back up or pan down or something? So this is like a tree pose position where you got to pan down even more. You can only see my legs, where you're just standing on one leg, even more. Keep going like this. And then from here, you can go to positions where your leg is out straight. And this is a little tricky because the boat's moving a little bit, but you get the idea. So can you pan up now, Nicole? Whoa. Anyway, so stuff like that. While I'm moving around on the boat doing my walks, I'm very focused on a million things. And this goes to your point, June, about mental focus during the exercise to help maybe alleviate the boredom. It definitely creates more of a flow state the more engaging the exercise can be. I'm very much focused on each step, each foot placement. Am I rolling from ball to foot? Am I pushing off as I go? When I lift my leg, am I recruiting efficiently? Which muscles am I using? When I place it down, am I just pumping it down or am I placing it down? How high am I bringing it off the deck? How wide ride? All of these things are sort of going through my head in a circular pattern, and a large part of that involves balance.
Cool. Lone Wabo had his hand up. Lone Wabo, do you have a question for Ryan?
It's all right. It's finally great to actually speak to you.
Hey, too. You're just I don't see you. I can hear you.
Unfortunately, we have government-mandated blackouts in our country, so that's quite exciting. So it's really just pitch dark right now. But as long as the PC is on and I can see everything, it's really great. Because if I try to light it on, I don't think you even see me, you know? So yeah. But I think this is just great. The amount of cheats that you've given us, particularly with the water, you know. I don't know how to swim, you know, but I've been in the water for a few times, but I've just seen the way you have used and made water your friend in terms of using it as a buoyancy to actually take off a lot of the weight and the pressure. And that is something that I find to be quite creative. And I want to try it out. And I cannot wait to see the type of things that you do in the water, because one of the appeals of water for me is the weight that's being taken off of the joints and the lower back particularly, because the lower back for me is also part of the problem. So I'd like to see the types of things that you do to also help out with that problem that you have with the lower back, you see. So yeah, I mean, I can't wait for this. I mean, this is just great.
Good question. Thank you. Yeah, I'm happy to demonstrate some of those things. You're right. You're spot on. Actually, the water is a huge friend for us. Even if you don't know how to swim, you don't have to go in water deeper than you can stand. And just moving around in that depth of water is plenty. But do it obviously with somebody who's there for safety and all the rest, especially if you cramp or get injured or something, so that you are safe. That's my disclaimer. Take a lesson even is I'm lucky that Nicole was an ocean lifeguard in San Diego, you know, so personally, but you know, the stuff that we're doing is orders of magnitude higher risk than the swimming pool. So we do orders of magnitude safety training, but even just a jacuzzi or something is enough to take the weight off to be able to do a lot of, you can do squats in a jacuzzi, for example. I can do about 12 squats, maybe maximum on flat ground when I'm doing my legs. It used to only be like 3 or 4 squats. And in a jacuzzi, you can just do squats forever, you know, or if it's too hard to do squats, put on a life jacket or something that's buoyant and floats. You can get them for really inexpensively online. It doesn't have to be a fancy one, like one that people would use to go water skiing. And then you can do squats with that on, and it takes even more weight off of you. In fact, it might even be hard to like start the squat if the water's too deep, you know? So these are excellent ways to use water. Water is by far the I think most effective adaptation tool that we have to be able to move through full range of motion, and this is to get the heart rate up and to get the aerobic. We haven't talked about that much yet, but the reason why I follow that SERG 7-week program and why I think aerobic conditioning is so important, it's along the same lines as why diet is important and why increasing efficiency through stretching and the rest is important, because the more efficiently you're able to use the muscles you have from an energy production standpoint, I'm wording this horribly, the better you're able to do stuff. So just like you lose 10 pounds, now you have 10 pounds less you have to carry around. If your body is able to better use the energy that it has inside of it, and if it's able to eliminate waste more effectively, and it's able to, let's call it, if you eliminate the aerobic resistance, it can compensate physical strength. Here's a great way to put it. Even an able-bodied person, if they're exercising at a very high percentage of their maximum ability, they're going to get really tired. Well, our maximum ability is much, much smaller. So we're always exercising at a higher percentage of our maximum. So the more that you can increase what that maximum ability is from an aerobic standpoint, the less time that you're spending close to it, if that makes sense. And you become less fatigued, much less fatigued.
That makes a lot of sense. Kevin has a question.
Yeah.
Hey, Ryan, Kevin Barber, how are you?
Hey, I know you.
I know you.
Buddy, he came to San Diego and did some events down there.
And Kiter.
And a kiter. Yeah, all around legend.
Yeah, great to see you, and thanks for continuing to share your experience with us and just learning so much. I remember you trained when I was diagnosed, and kind of through my emotional processing of that, you trained me to compete in the World Championships of the Xterra, and that was such a an educational experience for me. And I think, and so the story and the question are kind of tied together here, but I remember you trained me through that, and you helped me accomplish that goal. But it was very, very precise training that you gave me every day and every week. And you were, making me measure this and measure that and report this and report that. And what that taught me is just what you said. You'll give me this plan, or we'll sign up for this plan to do. But sometimes, so maybe part of my plan tomorrow is to go surf, and the waves are just stellar. They're incredible. So instead of surfing for about 45 minutes or an hour, which is what I'm probably capable of doing, I surf for 2 hours or 2.5 hours because I don't want to get out of those awesome waves. But then the next day I'm just wiped out. I'm just annihilated. And it's going to be really hard, or maybe even detrimental, to do my training. And so one of the things you really taught me was to really pay attention to, the feedback of your body, and not always being able to check the box of the training each day. So I just wanted to ask you, because it's been, 12 years since we've been through that process together. How do you adapt for that? What are you listening to with your own body that says, okay, maybe I went a little too hard, or maybe, there's some other aspect. I didn't sleep well enough. Maybe my nutrition's off something. I'm not feeling 100%. How do I now adapt my training program for today?
What a great question, Kevin. Thank you. And good to see you. 2 parts to this. The first part is the program that you were on back then was very specifically designed to produce a very specific outcome. So it was designed to produce maximum power in those 3 events over the long period of time. And in order to get to that level, you had to be able to reach certain performance objectives in training itself. So that involved a high level of recovery and a high level of specificity in what we were doing. What I'm talking about today is a little bit more sort of general. So, but it's applicable in the way that that you mentioned about avoiding overtraining, avoiding the kind of effort which someone who's very mentally strong-willed can very quickly, or if they're impatient, not that I know anyone who's impatient with their training, if they're impatient to get to results, tend to grind themselves into a pulp. Like, they have the mental fortitude and strength to do that. And you end up actually losing ability, losing fitness, getting injured rather than gaining. So because my training, speaking about myself now is less about specific targeted outcome in terms of I want to hit these numbers in power output on a bike, or achieve this result in whatever event. It's more general about just sort of trying to optimize my ability to perform work, or to do, not work in the employment sense, but to move around and be functional ability, I should say. Overtraining is still real, and it's still a problem, but it's not as specifically detrimental. So, for example, my general rule to myself is I will, no matter what, start the training that I've sort of decided for myself that day. Maybe the only exception to that would be if I'm injured or if I'm ill or something like that. But otherwise, I will do the training. I don't care if it's not. Like, I was at Nicole's parents' house in like December or whatever it was, and their outdoor pool's not heated, and it was the only pool I had available. F it, I'm swimming my laps. It was on my training schedule that day, and it was freezing. I came out like quivering cold, over and over again, because that was on my training. So I will definitely start the training. If once I start the training, I call it grinding gears. Like, I'm clearly, not just that it's hard or that it kind of sucks a little bit or that I'm tired, but like I am physically not able to produce the training effect. Maybe I did my interval, but my heart rate isn't getting up to where I want it to be. So all I'm doing at that point is just preventing myself from getting my heart rate to where it needs to be later. I'll cut the workout short on that day. I substitute something else or whatever. Like, this isn't an ego thing. This isn't a pride thing for me. As long as I start it with legit intent, I have sort of won the day. You know what I'm saying? I definitely, oftentimes I wake up, Nicole, she loves me always, but she hates me in the morning because I'm just like, I hurt, you know, and it's not just from exercise hurt. It's like, I'm sure all of us feel this. We're imbalanced and we're just kind of achy and stuff. And it's just mornings. And now I'm 51. So like, I'm discovering all kinds of new ways to hurt, you know, and I get up and I don't drink coffee, or I've never drank any of that stuff. So my coffee is like my walking the deck. So I wake up and I drag myself up and I weigh myself just to sort of keep track of hydration and things. And then I start walking my laps, and she knows not to like kiss me good morning until I walked, you know, I've gotten kind of a little bit. And then we go straight into PT. So there's no screwing around on Facebook. There's no watching the news first. There's none of that. It's just into PT. Or do, you know, video calls and then get into PT. But Kevin, he's gone. I guess the summary is, yeah, if you're injured or sick, don't grind your gears. But definitely start the effort. Whatever it is that you've got on your thing, start it. If you don't have something on your thing and you're thinking to yourself, what do I want to do today? What you should want to do today is something. So it doesn't matter what it is. Just effing do it, you know? One day a week, all I do is, it's my recovery day, so I don't do any physical training aside from yoga and meditation. But other than that, at least start every day.
Awesome. Great advice. Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you,
Patricia
brother.
has had her hand up for a bit. So Patricia, you've got the floor now.
Okay, my question, I was diagnosed this 38 years ago. On my own, I chose to start exercising because Hopkins told me doesn't matter what you do. And I thought that was a bunch of baloney. So over the years, I did my own. I went, you know, I used to be able to exercise in the pool and actually got where I could walk one lap with my husband's help and a cane. Then COVID came and I got that, was in the hospital. That threw me off big time. So I recovered from that somewhat. Actually, I recovered from COVID quicker than my muscles did. 6 days in the hospital didn't help me. So eventually, after in-home therapy, to make a long story short, I could walk down a ramp with a cane by myself, which was phenomenal. And then at home, I fell and my legs kept giving out and my arms. So I went back to physical therapy, saw a therapist who wanted me to do things that I hadn't done in like 30 years. And I tried to tell her, I can't do this, I can't do that. I said, I'm not making excuses. I know my body. I will try this, but I can't do that. So anyway, she really pushed me. I fell a couple times. So every time I fall, I'm sure it's with everyone with this, it's such a big setback. So I start over again. Now I'm at home riding my recumbent bike, using weights, only 1 and 2 pound, but weights. I'm in a power wheelchair 24/7. I don't know what to do from here, and I eat like you eat. I mean, there is no sugar, no processed food, no refined food, no dairy, nothing. No condiments, just supplements, water, chicken, fish, lots of fruits and vegetables, which I've lost weight. I feel great. It's just my muscles aren't doing. So I do the stretching, and I keep a really good attitude. I think I have a lot of faith in God. I have a lot of support. I've learned how to rest so I'm not stressed out.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know what else I should be doing.
Okay. Well, first of all, what keeps going through my mind is not how fortunate you are. That's probably not the best way to word it, but what a great opportunity you've had to have this resistance like almost forced on you. I think a lot of people just, have kind of a lot more comfortable, a lot easier, and they have to sort of go out there and seek these challenges themselves. You've had them just given to you. So what an opportunity to sort of test yourself and, have these things to face. And the fact that you don't want to, you hurt and you're still going out there and you're looking for stuff and you're actually asking me, hey, give me some ideas. I want to get in the game. I want to be in this fight. That is the victory. And, for what I can say, when you go out and you do whatever it is you're doing and it hurts and it sucks and you fall, you've earned it. You've earned it. So, freaking relish that. Like, I've got scabs on my legs right now from when I fell walking on land a few weeks ago doing an interval. I just, like all of us, tripped over my feet and fell. And I'm like, yeah, cool. Let's go. Like, got back up, finished the interval, came back with blood. I actually was going to take the blood and make like war paint on my face for Nicole, but there's other boats around, so I didn't do it. So, you take the situation and just to answer your question specifically, right away, you've already started just by saying, what is it that I can do? That is the first step. And the second step is just, this might sound trite if that's the right word, but just effing do it. Like, do you have access to a pool?
No, I don't. We were working out in this facility, but it's a long story.
Okay, well, I'm watching you right now. I'm watching you wipe your tears away. And so clearly you can lift your arms at least to your face, right?
Yep.
Yep. So you have some motion in your arms. Do you have,
Yes.
can you lift your
Yes.
arms with a soup can in them?
Yeah, I do weights with
You've
my,
got weights.
yeah, I can do that.
Can
Yeah,
you-
and I've got,
Can you like thrust your arms out?
yeah. It's
Okay, so
kind
you
of
can
weird,
punch.
but yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Look, when I'm walking laps around the boat, like for hours, it's not fun. It's not like I'm doing it because it's enjoyable. It might not be fun to like lift your arms up, but if you tell yourself, I'm going to lift my arms up X number of
Right.
minutes, slowly at first maybe, and now I'm going to do it as fast as I can, maybe like a running motion or something like this. I guarantee you'll get your heart rate up. In fact, this morning it was still dark on deck and it was raining. So for my warm-up, I just walked. I didn't do a full warm-up, but just a quick one before I came on. I walked back and forth in the cabin just as fast as I could. Sometimes what I do is, I haven't done it lately, but I'll take a pillow and put it up against the wall and I'll just hit the pillow as fast as I can. And I guarantee you that will get your heart absolutely racing. So if you make it, the target is just to get your heart rate up, just all you have to do is move around at all. Put on some music. Do you like to dance at all? A little boogie woogie?
In my chair, yes.
Of course in your chair.
I can
Yeah,
get-
but I mean, you don't have to designate it in your chair. You're dancing. Look, like, that's like people
Right.
when you say, can you play music? And they go, oh, no, I can't play any instrument. And I'm like, can you clap? Yeah. And I'm like, well, you're playing an instrument. It doesn't have to be like what
Yeah.
everybody thinks is an instrument. That's in your head. Let that go, man. Dance. Put on some music. Dance a little bit. Get loose. Play
Right.
around. Whatever it is. Just 10 minutes or so of that. Just enough to get so that you feel a little bit warm, maybe a little bit of sweaty. And then do whatever it is your thing is. If you've got a 4-minute interval, move your arms for 4 minutes as fast as you can. If you're doing a weight training thing, do sets to failure and then stop. Rest for 3 minutes and then do another set to failure. Whatever it is,
Okay.
guarantee you that first step is moving you in a direction. There's a great, I saw it online and it was just 1%. Just try to get 1% better today than you were yesterday. Don't try to like suddenly get back to where you were or achieve some whatever. F all that. Get rid of these like outcome-based sort of focus and just instead focus on what you're doing. Like, am I moving now? Yes. You've won the battle. Am I still moving? Yes. I'm still winning the battle. Can I keep moving anymore? No, I've taken it as far as I can today. Good. Now I can stop. I've won the day. Just start with that. Just start with that. Go ahead.
Thank you. I can get my heart rate up on the recumbent bike. And
Perfect.
I should say when I do fall, this has been my mantra, if that's the right wording, for years and years and years. I am not going to let this destroy my joy. I am going to go on. There's a fight in me.
Good. Epic. I like that this is hard for you, to be honest with me, to be honest with you. I think that if this were easy, there would be no honor in the victory, or I don't know how to word that, like you're earning it. You're earning it. For me, I don't think about it like from the perspective of joy or whatever. I look at it, maybe this is a, I don't know, I guess I can't, I've been away for 10 years, so forgive me, but like more of a masculine thing or whatever, and I'm just like, I don't look at it as I'm going to beat this disease or I'm going to keep fighting or whatever. It's not that. To me, it's whether, even when I had my muscle and I was able-bodied, my approach has always been, it's sort of like I want, like the battle is against myself. It's against my apathy. There's almost like a get better and like a let myself get worse. The two little, angel and devil or whatever. And
Right.
I want to be buddies with the improve, So what does that mean? It means I'm going to get out of bed when it's cold. No, don't get out of bed. You're going to be cold and it's going to hurt. Yeah. F you. I'm getting out of bed. And then you just do it,
Right.
and then that becomes the reward. And you know this,
Absolutely.
and you're doing
Yes.
it, and it's going to suck and it's going to be hard and good, good. Let's
Yeah.
make it hard, and then let's still succeed.
Amen.
And
Thank you.
stretch. Do some yoga and stretching. I think that's really important too.
Thank
Find an
you.
adaptive yoga, go on YouTube, whatever it is,
Right. Thank you very much.
And let me know how it goes. Reach out to me on Facebook or
I
something.
I think I met you years ago when we lived in Maryland, and I think that you were at one of Karen Johnson's meetings. Do you remember that? Years ago? Were you ever there?
I don't remember. I don't know. Maybe.
All right. That's okay.
If I wasn't, I'll say, yeah, I was there. Did I do good? If it was a good speech, I was there.
Yeah, you were there.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Thank you.
There was one question posted in the chat. Someone was asking if you use any kind of nutritional supplements.
No, I probably would if I lived in the United States. The closest I have to nutritional supplement is electrolytes. We out here, I'll get electrolyte replacement stuff. It's really big out here. It's in the tropics, and we're active all the time. And you have muscle cramps and fatigue that comes from that. I think if you have normal heart rate, normal blood pressure, it's safe to play with over-the-counter electrolytes, sort of like rehydration powders that you would get for like if you have diarrhea or something. Stay away from Gatorade and sugary stuff. That's not helpful at all. If you have high blood pressure, any kind of arrhythmic heart rhythm, Kevin can correct my speech on the medical stuff. I've been off the ambulance for 10 years, but if you have a heart arrhythmia, you have to be careful with electrolytes. So talk to your doctor if you have any doubts about that at all. In terms of what supplements I would take, I wouldn't be doing anything with creatine or any of that kind of stuff. It would be purely like vitamins and just to fill any gaps I might have nutritionally, not performance enhancing.
Uh-huh. Very good. Well, this has been fantastic. I'm sure everybody would love to have you back sometime, but I'm particularly honored that you disrupted your morning routine to join us on Zoom. I think I can speak for all of us. We're very, very appreciative of that. And isn't this cool that we can talk to you like on the other side of the planet?
Yeah, it's a pleasure. To be honest, this is my first group Zoom meeting ever. Like we did our confinement literally in this Anchorage. So, kind of neat. I feel like I'm caught up with the modern technology.
Yes, you can check that off.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Ryan. And we'll be back in 2 weeks for the next Feeling Fit session. So see you then. And
can I add one thing?
Yes.
Please, especially if maybe you had a question you didn't want to ask in the group in general, or if something comes up later, I might not answer right away, but I try to answer every message I get. So please don't hesitate. I consider we're a team. We're a community. We all have our different stuff we can bring to the table. Don't worry, I won't hesitate to lean on any of you if you have some specialty that I'm curious about, and I hope you feel the same towards me.
Great. What's actually, can we put your email in the chat?
Sure. Just don't, I would ask people, well, yeah, that's fine. Put my email in the chat, or
Or
Facebook
people can
Messenger is a
email
really-
me and I can forward it to you.
You can put it in the chat. That's fine. It's our group. And also Facebook Messenger is, I know it's kind of, nobody uses it in the States that much anymore, but it's really prevalent out here. So we use that a lot as well.
So let's see, is that the Gmail address is that your main, is that the email?
The easiest Gmail would probably be toafloat at Gmail, TWOAFLOAT at
Okay.
Gmail. They can sort of, there's all kinds of examples of physical activity on the To Afloat YouTube channel. Tons, actually. And Facebook is just Facebook/Ryan Levinson.
Okay. Terrific.
I'm
All
all
right.
jacked up now.
Well-
I'm like ready to, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody. Take care.